Using to turn over critical information about a widely used crime-fighting tool. We're talking about confidential informants, the kind whose tip led to CPD's notoriously botched raid at the home of Anjanette Young. CBS 2 investigator Dave Savini reveals how secrecy is making it impossible to determine whether the system taxpayers foot the bill for actually works to solve crime.
Officer, would you please raise your right hand?
You are watching Chicago police officer Michael Higgins under oath.
You solemnly swear or affirm in this testimony to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Answering common questions about his use of a paid registered confidential informant called an RCI.
During the 3 years approximately that you've been working with the RCI, has he ever had pending criminal charges or pending criminal cases?
Yes.
Against him?
Yes.
We call them common questions because most of us know cops cut deals with criminals in order to catch other criminals.
What are those charges?
Suspended license, child support, and I think a forgery or a fraud case.
What we don't know is how much you and I pay for it as taxpayers, and more importantly, whether the confidential informant system is even working.
They got a warrant in their hand.
It all started on a hot August day in 2018 when Officer Higgins, the SWAT team, and the Area South gun team busted into Cynthia Eason's home, ransacking it, pointing guns at her grandkids, and searching the entire house.
You were most worried about your grandchildren?
Yes, and my daughter, yes.
We know, and the fact that children are involved in something like this is terrible. They don't need to see this.
Right. Okay.
But we have a job to do.
They were looking for a gang member and a handgun. The only problem? Police were at the wrong house. The botched case has now turned into a federal lawsuit with skyrocketing legal costs for numerous depositions of victims, officers, and fees for private law firms hired by the city. This one case is costing taxpayers more than $330,000, and it hasn't even gone to trial yet. We found a total of nearly $8 million in fees and settlements spent on these kinds of cases alone since 2015. All because Chicago police failed to verify the story their informants told them.
Do you think they realize what kind of pain this puts a family through?
I don't think they care.
Police are never supposed to solely rely on the word of confidential informants, but in each of these bad raids, dozens of them our CBS 2 investigators uncovered, officers took their informant's word as gospel and failed to investigate and verify the tips. The Chicago Police Informant Program remains shrouded in secrecy. For months, we've tried to find out how much CPD is spending on this crime-fighting tool. We also want to be able to tell you just how many crimes they've been able to solve because of confidential informants.
Do you think that the taxpayers and the citizens have a right to know?
I absolutely do think that they have a right to know.
Jim Trainum is a former homicide detective from Washington, D.C., who is a police practices consultant.
Even just in at least general terms, to know if there's a huge amount of money, but there's really nothing to show for it, or if there's a lot of money going into a program that's giving very questionable results.
Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul's office is in charge of making sure government agencies like the Chicago Police Department are following the law when it comes to public records or Freedom of Information Act requests.
We have to be voices that support transparency.
This past July, his office ordered CPD to turn over policy information CPD had refused to release under the Freedom of Information Act.
And you believe that we should be entitled through FOIA to see at least the amount of money that is being spent on informants, confidential informants, John Doe informants.
That seemed like something that shouldn't fall within, an exemption.
This is what CPD finally turned over to us, piles of unreadable, unusable information, like the piles of lawsuits the city is racking up.
Anytime that you have secrecy and that you don't have somebody from the outside looking in to make sure everything is on the up and up, I mean, that just makes it so ripe for abuse.
Do you know how much the RCI is paid, this RCI?
No, I don't.
But he was aware his informant needed money desperately.
I know that he can't make his child support. He'll end up getting a warrant put out and arrested.
Child support violations that led to his informant's license being suspended repeatedly. He says another law enforcement agent even worked out a special payment plan so the informant could avoid jail time.
When she pays him, she had wait so he makes sure that he pays the child support.
Does it shock you? Well, then it probably doesn't shock you to hear that they paid this informant on the day his child support was due.
There's an increased amount of pressure on him to deliver something. And when you're under pressure, you sometimes do things you shouldn't do.
Late tonight, the Chicago Police Department finally sent us a statement that they're committed to transparency, but they still haven't given us the records. We'll keep fighting. Dave Savini, CBS 2 Investigators.
Dave, thank you.